We ready?
Yep.
All right, being it's 5:30, would like to call the Finance Committee of the whole meeting to order. If, Madam Clerk, if you could take the roll, please.
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Alderperson Clem is absent. Johnson,
Here.
Simmons is absent. Parker,
Here.
Stacy,
Here.
Shadle,
Here.
Sanders is absent, and Sellers.
Here.
We do have a quorum, though.
Thank you. If we could join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and if we could have approval of the agenda.
So move. I second.
That's a motion by Sellers and a second by Johnson. All in favor
Aye.
and opposed? That's approved, and we need approval of the minutes from November 3rd of 2025.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Sellers, second by Parker. All in favor
Aye.
and opposed? Seeing none, that's approved. We have item 6 is public comments for agenda items.
There were none signed up.
None signed. I see nobody in the audience. And then item 7 is discussion of the library budget by Director Huffines, please.
Good evening. Let me see if I can do this. Yep. Okay. So the library works a little differently than the city because we have one main source of revenue, which is property taxes. We do not receive any funding from the city's budget for our operating expenses or for our capital improvement projects. The library is self-funded. So there are a few lines that I'm going to discuss regarding the library's budget. So we're going to start with the payroll lines. And this is, I'm just reading straight from the memo. And on the screen, we will still be able to see all of the expense lines for our personnel, which is what we're starting with. So items 5,000, 5,010, 5,195, 5,210, 5,215, 5220, 5230, 5235, 5245, and 5295 are all our payroll expenses. And you'll notice that in FY 2025, we totaled $788,660 for payroll, including benefits. And in FY 2026, we're projected to be spending $809,329 for a total increase of $20,000, $620,665. I'm going to keep going, and when I'm done going through the memo, we'll go back and talk about if you have any questions when it comes to the rest of the budget. So for non-payroll related expenses, the majority of our expenses are remaining the same or have small increases. I'll discuss the larger increase, but please ask any questions related to items I do not explain. Line item 6395 is our insurance other than employee benefits, which includes our liability insurance for our building and grounds, as well as the insurance coverage we have for the executive director and the board of trustees. In FY 2025, the cost is $45,360. We're actually spending $55,000, so that was under budget this year. Over budget. And then in FY 2026, we rebudgeted that line to $60,000 to make sure that we're including all of the increases we've seen the past 2 years. So the total increase is going to be $14,640. In FY 2026, we will transfer $52,265 from our reserves to help cover our budget. The Van Raden Fund is from our history room, which covers the history expense line, which is line item 6379 for $5,000. And that is special reserves that can only be spent in the history room. Our IMRF reserves, the total that we have in our budget this year is $13,130, and that's line item 5195. And that's completely going to be taken from our reserves, which is also restricted and can only be spent on IMRF. We're taking capital equipment funds of $9,000 from, which is reserved from a tech grant that we received in FY 2024. And we'll be spending the rest of that down on new patron computers. And then our building fund, we're taking $20,135 for capital outlay, which is line item 7040. And we're using that. It's completely restricted funds that can only be used on the building. And we're using that for our bathroom remodels. And then we have our liability and insurance / FICA reserve of $5,000 to cover insurance other than employee benefits, which is this year we were at $55,000. So we rebudgeted it for $60,000, and that extra $5,000 we're going to take from our reserves to help cover for that. And in coordination with the Library Board of Trustees, I ask the City Council to approve the FY 2026 budget when it is presented at an upcoming City Council meeting. And then this directly reflects with responsive, efficient government for our strategic plan. So, any questions on the budget?
Alderman Sellers.
Yeah, just like to know the increases, are they there because of you have more programming or you have more people or, what's the increase of all these line items? Is it because of those things?
So the expense line is just renegotiated with AFSCME, and then it's also just the general payroll increases for health insurance, retirement, Social Security, Medicare, all of that. And then the insurance, all kinds is going up, car, building, health, all of that is rising. So the two main areas that we've seen increases in are not directly reflective of the programming that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Stacy.
Yes, Ashley, per your and my conversation,
Mhm.
and you had shared that taxes were gonna go up 4.96%,
I think it's 4.94.
4.94%.
That is the levy conversation, but I will still answer any questions about it. The levy is next on the agenda.
Okay. I'll wait for the levy because it may get answered.
Okay.
There was several items you said you were going to spend out of reserves. What is that total up to?
The items that we're spending out of our reserves are fund balance transfer for FY 2025, which is current now, is $81,665. And in FY 2026, we're spending $52,265 out of our reserves.
And that's, as the budget stands, you need that to make up.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? That's the end of that one, and then we'll move right into item 8, which is presentation of the library tax levy.
Okay, so the City Council adopts a separate levy for the library operations each year. In 2023, the library reduced our levy request for Medicare, liability insurance, unemployment, and Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, which is IMRF, in order to spend down our prior reserves in these areas. At the time, we informed council that these rates would need to increase when the funds were exhausted. The EAV, equalized assessed value, for the city of Freeport has decreased by $105,004 over the past year. Due to this decrease, any additional increment from the rising property values is not available. The other alternative is to increase the tax rate. As the 2023 levy was decreased previously in order to spend down reserves, the library would like to increase the rate for 2025, paid in 2026. The library may increase their tax rate, but only in an amount under 5% of the previous level. Based on this information, the library's levy request for 2025, paid in 2026, is $1,114,500. This increase would generate $52,500 more in property taxes from last year, and the property taxes make up about 84% of the library's income. A house valued at $100,000 would see an increase of $6 on their library portion of their tax bill. And then you can see the information about the rates up there on the screen. And I will entertain questions.
Alderman
Does
Stacy.
Thank you. Does this happen automatic? I mean, is there a vote other than the council?
There's first, the library board also has to vote to approve this. We meet on Wednesday. Depending on the schedule of meetings year by year, sometimes the library meets first. Sometimes the city council will have their first reading. Then the library will have their meeting, and then the city council will have their second meeting to do the second reading. But this year, we're able to have the cow before the library meets on Wednesday. So I'm going to be able to take your feedback that you give me here to the meeting on Wednesday to discuss that with the library board.
I guess what I'm asking is whether or not the homeowner taxes go up, is that determined right here?
Yes,
At the council.
that's what the levy is, correct. It's a little bit different because the city can just make their own decision about their levy, and it's just totally you, and you don't have other boards that are approving it. The library board is the only other board that does the levy. So it's the library board doing their own levy, and then you have to approve what they bring to you. If you don't approve it, the library has to go back and redo it.
And there's no other avenue or no other source.
The only other source would be is if some of the other taxes that the city gets. I am not an expert in this. Michelle would more be an expert in this, is if any of those funds can be given to the library. I know that their budget is very tight. That is not something that we have discussed or that we're really planning on doing. But to answer your question, the tax levy is pretty much it is the number one source of income for the library. We do our best with going out and getting grants. We also have support from our foundation, but our foundation doesn't even have enough money for us to operate for 1 year.
And that budget includes expense for new books, new magazines.
Correct. It includes all of those things. All of our new materials, all of our personnel, and taking care of the building. The programming as well.
And the general public have no say-so in this matter.
The general public, it would go to a vote if we went above the 5%. So we don't ever go above the 5%. There's 2 rules that we have to follow. If you look at the top line where it says Library Corp, and then there's a tax rate all the way to the right, where it says, I don't know if you can read it, it's pretty small, but it says 0.00345154. That has to be below 0.004, which we always keep that below 0.004. And then the other rule that we have to follow is the percent change from prior year, the total tax levy on the bottom. You'll see the highlighted where it's the total dollar amount. And just to the right of that, you'll see the 4.94%. That cannot go over 5%. So the two things that we are legally required to do are happening. If we went above 4.94, we would have to go to a referendum. And that's where the public vote would come in.
So what if,
Go ahead.
what if this don't pass?
If it doesn't pass the city, we have to go back and we would have to cut $52,000 out of our budget and try to figure out how to make that happen. We would do things like not spend the money for capital outlay. We would do everything we can not to cut any of our services. So that's what would happen.
If we,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
if we did not spend the money, I mean, is there something wrong with the computers that we have?
Yes. The tech grant that I'm talking about, we have to spend that by June 2026 because that was awarded to us from the state of Illinois. So that $9,000 will get spent even if we don't pass this levy, if we change the levy. There are other things that we can do, looking at other opportunities that are out there, but that's not guaranteed funds at this point. It's still a grant process where we have to fill out an application and we have to wait until June to know whether or not we actually get the money.
So did the library have a separate grant writer?
Yeah, me. I write the grants.
Great.
Alderman Sellers.
I just like to say that right now, my vote would be yes. All the great things that I heard this summer and the excitement that came out of the young lady that always comes and speaks, all the great things that the library does for our children, and that's our number one thing. We want to make sure our kids stay in a place where they can keep their minds and imaginations going. So $52,000, yeah, I like to have it. But I'm saying for the library right now, I think it's a no-brainer, really, because we got to keep our kids involved in the things that they do at the library, and they're doing some great things at the library. So that's my vote. I know already, so.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I think I was at the library every day this summer with my grandson. And I appreciate all the effort that goes forth in planning. But being a single person now and having to figure out so much more with one income concerns me.
And I understand that. I know that any vote that you make is not going to be necessarily that you don't support the library.
Yes. Because I don't know that I can afford my taxes to go up.
Mm-hmm.
And if they go up anyway, will I have lights? Or the water bill is ridiculous, running water. I think, I don't know, a 5-pound bag of sugar is now 4 pounds, and it's more than the 5-pound price.
Yeah. And I mean, that's also something that we're dealing with at the library. The cost of everything is going up for
Yeah.
everything that we do as well. And I understand everything that you're saying. And we feel it every day. We see it in our invoices that we are using. And we're trying to be responsible. We cut back on our levy because we were levying too much money. It was just constantly going into our reserves. Well, we spent that down. And so now we have to bring it back up to what it should be. Over the past, from 2020 to 2025, there's actually been a decrease of $15 per house that's worth $100,000. And then this year we're asking for what would equate to potentially $6 increase, which puts that still at over 6 years, a negative $9 per $100,000 home. But I hear you. We work with a lot of strict income at the library. So I hear you and I understand what you're saying, Cecilia. I mean, Alderman Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we go to item 9, the presentation of the city tax levy. Manager Boyer and Director Richter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The City Council has reviewed all the sections of the proposed budget. And we're now finally doing a lap here with the EAV. So we've received an estimate for 2025 equalized assessed value from the county. The EAV as our tax district has decreased by $105,000 over the last year. So based on this information, the city's corporate tax levy for 2025 paid in 26 would be $2,976,000, a decrease of $1,400. A house valued at $100,000 would see no change in the city's portion of their property tax bill as long as their assessed value does not increase. And during the past 9 years, the City Council has kept the tax rate for the corporate levy the same or slightly lower each year. So just letting you know that the tax levy is down slightly, but it's leveling off, and there's no recommended change at this time.
Any questions?
Just a reminder, Alderperson Stacy, would you lower your microphone if you're going to have a question?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. We move to item 10, the summary discussion of any changes to the 2026 budget since the first presentation. Manager Boyer and Director Richter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a number of changes. Obviously, we got the EAV, which was a little bit lower. Those changes are now integrated in our revenue side. Also, we're seeking to use $1.3 million in fund reserves to pay for capital investments such as replacing the salt shed, doing tuck pointing at City Hall, and upgrading or working on the city yards facility, and as well as equipment and vehicle needs for police department and for the street department. Also, I wanted to highlight that this year we also negotiated with the insurance company successfully. However, there's an increase across the board. It was projected at 16.1% increase, and we were successful in reducing that to 6.9%. So there's a bit of a, let's say, a deferred or a reduction in the rate of increase. Let's go ahead and move down to the various funds. I want to start out with the city clerk. We had a full-time employee to be shared between the clerk, HR, and finance. That position was removed. So that was the primary change in the city clerk's budget. City manager, mayor, we made some minor changes to the fringe and the calculations on that. Nothing major there. Then in communications, we had budgeted for 90 hours total for an intern, and then increased of $1,500 with fringe, and reduced the expense to cover that. So finance, we had a full-time employee to be shared between the clerk, HR, and finance. We removed that position. We have a handful of other small changes within finance, but most of them just either minute or we reduced on the machinery and equipment, as an example. That was reduced. Under government buildings, we added $50,000 for repairs for the PD. And then we are adding the $800,000 for renovation of the salt sheds at Island, as well as $100,000 for the building at Island. There's some problems there that need to be remedied, so we're budgeting for that in the 26 budget, as well as improvements here at City Hall. We budgeted about $100,000 for tuck pointing. Originally, we had a little bit more in the budget. A lot of the changes also reflect the AFSCME wages and fringe change from the new contract. So those have been incorporated in with the changes. And we also made some changes to the sidewalk reimbursement program. We upped it slightly, and we're going to also increase the funding for the sidewalk program per square foot. So we'll be doubling that. So we'll see how that goes. That'll encourage people to replace their sidewalk. Moving on to, again, cemetery, we had adjustments to AFSCME wages and fringe there, as well as forestry. We made some adjustments to the budget related to the clam truck. Originally, we had planned to do a major replacement on the clam truck. We're going to defer that at this point. Under community development, again, we incorporated the AFSCME wages. And we have included essentially the hiring of a grant writer with some of the savings that we will receive in past budgets compared to what we were paying for the lobbyist. So we've removed the lobbyist, and then we have added a grant writer to work in community development. And then also MSA Engineering has done a lot of our grant work for that department. One of the jobs that this grant writer will assume some of the work that MSA has previously done. So we took the savings on that and put that toward a grant writer. But we did plan or reduced MSAs to about $40,000 so we can finish out the current grants that we have available or that are currently in the work. Police, again, updated with the AFSCME wages for the dispatchers and the records clerks. In addition, we've reduced the machinery and equipment to $35,000, and we removed a couple of speed signs and previously budgeted for awning that's been done already. In fire, again, we've updated with payroll information, recent staff changes on fire, so there's some changes there. Then under just moving down, building department, animal control, those are same with AFSCME changes. Then we have human resources. So we had a full-time employee, again, the same one that we're going to share with HR and the finance. We've removed that position. In addition, IT has removed the summer help. We had a part-time person in for summer help for IT. That's been taken out. Interdepartmental, we had a transfer of funds from interdepartmental to, we'll get to it a little later, but essentially we're transfer from general fund of $460,000 and decrease the vehicle line item by $465,000. That just reflects the changes that we made to the vehicles that we no longer plan to purchase. We had a couple of dump trucks that we deferred. We're going to order. We had 3 dump trucks, and we reduced that to 1. But we also kept the F-550s and the other pickups that we need to maintain. So those are still in the budget. On the grant side of things, not a whole lot of changes there. We had just the police donations. There's a restricted fund that's collected for speaker for the Freeport School District 145. So that's there. We had a slight decrease in the grant amount at the Pretzel City Transit, so we're continuing to track our expenses there, and we're hoping to include a fixed route that'll lower our total cost of operations. And I think we're getting down toward the end here. Going down to capital equipment funds, as I mentioned, we've made the appropriate adjustments, having removed two dump trucks from our plan to purchase. And police pension fund and fire pension fund. The police and pension, or the police fund, will meet Wednesday, and then we'll finalize the pension budget then. And the same thing with the fire. We don't expect any real changes to that. And then on water, again, we made the adjustments for AFSCME, the new AFSCME contract. So that summarizes all of the changes we've made so far. Mostly kind of reducing things and making sure that we're living within our means. This time, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to
Alderman
answer.
Sellers.
Yeah, I know you were talking about the. Oh, I'm sorry. I know you were talking about the changes in the community development. Just want to make sure that we still announce that we are still adding the nuisance
Yes.
person to help, and
Yeah.
we're adding a grant writer in those departments. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's all. Oh, and then I'd like to know, what is the total? Do we know the total amount that we are decreasing from all these things put together? Is there a total, like,
I think it was approximately $3 million.
oh, okay.
But there's I think what Alderman
Yeah.
Sellers is asking is, how much do we have to cut out of the budget? So,
Yes.
yeah.
About 3 million?
That's not the total and complete. We
Okay.
did we moved some items into capital that are gonna come from fund reserve. As I mentioned, the salt shed, city hall duct pointing, the updates and construction at the city yards, and the PD and street department vehicles.
One more question. I know you talked about the salt building or whatever. Are you going to give more information on why we are spending that much for the salt, so people can understand why we're putting that kind of money into that building?
Absolutely. That we have two salt sheds down at 1001 Island Avenue. They are a pole shed construction, and they are very old. And the salt has rotted away or contributed to the rotting away of all the posts. So at this point, the sheds are starting to come apart and fall down. So this is important because this is where we store our salt during winter snow removal operations.
Alderman Stacy, yeah.
Did I understand you to say that you have removed the lobbyists?
Yes.
Did he ever bring us anything?
Well, the lobbyists did their they had done a lot to make us aware of different grants and things, but they had not necessarily contributed to anything that was outside of grants that we were already pursuing. So essentially, the reason we're not renewing their contract is performance related.
When he was hired for how many years?
It was just a 12-month contract.
So he got that 70 whatever thousand.
Anything else?
Could have gave it to the library.
Alderman Johnson.
I know I talked to Rob some about some of the overtime lines on here, and I know he's working with that to try to decrease the overtime in some of those areas. So I appreciate that, and I would like to see that, furthered in the days ahead. I know there's some times when you can't help overtime, but there are some ways maybe to cut some of that. So I know that'll be worked on in the next year here.
Okay. And we go back to item 11, public comments. Seeing none, I would take a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed? We are adjourned.
And then we'll start up as soon as IT